Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a watch that is a 2022 model, and it is easy to see why, because this is the 50th anniversary of the Royal Oak, and this is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph 50th Anniversary Edition. Technically, dimensionally, ergonomically, it's the same as any standard generation 26240, but it has that exclusive one-year-only rotor. Now, it's a 41mm diameter case in rose gold, 12.5 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It is 51.5 millimeters with a 55.8 millimeter end link to end link dimension. These little plots, these mini links, they define the total distance across the wrist. Now, I've always advised people to consider Royal Oaks to wear larger than their rated size, and that's certainly the case here, as the watch feels more like a 43 or even a 44. But you can see that the edge of the case is angled down, so that does mitigate against fit issues. So if your wrist is 15 centimeters circumference or larger, you could wear this watch. If your wrist is smaller, you're going to look for a smaller Royal Oak chronograph, probably a 38 or a 39. Now, the timepiece is low enough to fit underneath the cuffs. There's no issues there. As a dress watch, it's certainly passes muster. The strap is high grade, and this is what adds some of the stiffness, and it does create some fit problems for smaller wrists because there's a lot of fight and a flare here. I can't simply pull the strap straight down out of the lugs. That's something to think about if you are trying to size this up for your wrist. It likes a big wrist. The strap is fully integrated, so it has the same all-of-a-piece look as if it were on a bracelet. Gerald Genta in 1972 created the Royal Oak. He envisioned bracelets, so Audemars Piguet has created a strap that has the same aesthetic intervention and integration that you would get if it were attached to a bracelet. Now, where things change a little bit is the clasp, which is a new piece for the Royal Oak family. You can see medium rectangular scale alligator leather, folded edge, monotone stitch, calfskin on the bottom, high-grade AP strap in excellent condition, but this is really where the news is. AP changes its clasp design every couple of years, and this is new. A combination of satin and polish internally, you can see that well, but it's a double fold, and it does a great job of disguising two triggers. You could see them externally on the satin profiles, so you have to press those triggers to pop this open, which gives you a lot more security than older friction fit systems that could pop open if violence or inertia reached a certain level. Rapid movement of the wrist, the old clasp was a bit unreliable. Here, the twin trigger thing ensures it's only going to pop open when you want it to. That is a big step forward for AP's clasps. Now, you can see that the remainder of that buckle has a combination of satin and polish, and it is Audemars Piguet branded. It is a very nice piece. I'm a big fan of that. Taking a look at the case, it's the Royal Oak we've always known and loved. Now we have crown guard structures here, as well as shouldered chronograph pushers. Take note, whereas previous versions may have had screw-down shoulders, these are not screw-downs. They're there for bracing against shearing, and they hold the pusher fast, but you don't need to screw them in or out to use the chronograph. They are always accessible. The chronograph, you can see, is also now a flyback, so you can reset and restart with a single push of the trigger. The shoulders, as well as the crown, hexagonal to match the shape of the hexagonal white gold bolts that sit inside the rounded octagonal bezel. The crown is a screw down. The watch is 50 meters water resistant, so on the right strap you can surface swim it. The case is complex with facets, curves, polish, and satination. All of this layered on manually, and this is a big part of what you pay for when you buy a Royal Oak. It is almost like a cut gem. Real time went into finishing these surfaces as precisely and beautifully as you see. We have 1, 2, 3 different surfaces on that rounded octagonal bezel, and Gerald Genta, when he designed the first, took this design from the profile of a vintage diving helmet. That's where that came from. The dial is the Grande Tapisserie. It is a hobnail in large size. The petite and the grand are large or small, but they are pantograph cut. Critically, the mega, which is on the offshore, is a stamped dial. This is cut on the old-style mimicry lathe, which since 2012 has been done in-house at Audemars Piguet. So you have the large hobnails, but then very small textured profiles over the hobnails and between them. It is a long term project to create one of these dials. First it needs to be cut, then it needs to be galvanized, then all of these elements, including applied rose gold logo and indices, are added. We have rose gold chapterings for each of the registers, constant seconds, chronograph minutes, and chronograph hours. We'll do a quick loom shot here. This is a sports watch. It is fairly well loomed, no problem reading it in the dark. You see that we have a date disc between 4 and 5, which I kind of like. I like it when a date sits between rather than replacing an index. We have a hacking seconds function, so you can stop the movement. And then the movement also includes a quick set function. And by the way, take a look at that 2, and then take a look at the 2 on the sub-register. It's the same 2. And unifying typeface for characters is something a lot of brands, even at the top of the market, often overlook, so I'm happy to see that right there. Now we turn the watch over and we have that rotor I promised you. Why do I like it? Well, not so much because it's 1 year only or because it's commemorative. I don't ultimately think that will make the watch much more collectible, but I do think it's more beautiful, as this particular rotor, with a combination of beveling, black polish, and satination, is multiply finished, skeletonized, and then interior beveled, creating these sharp inward angles, as well as the art and artistry of this polished 50th anniversary logo. So this is a more laborious rotor to create than a standard AP automatic rotor that you'd find on a caliber 4401. So because it took more time to create, I like it. Now, we have ceramic rotor bearings for high winding efficiency and low maintenance. It has a 70-hour power reserve, which I like. The old caliber 3120, which was the base for the chronographs, like the offshore, for example, that movement was only 26.6 millimeters in diameter, and this movement is 32, so it better fills the case back. Not only does it have a longer power reserve at 70 hours, we still have the old architecture with a full balance bridge and a free-sprung Gyromax style balance for shock tolerance and precise adjustment. We have a column wheel for function selection. You can see it underneath the rotor right there, and you can see it in action. We have the flyback function, the hacking, the quick set, and a higher beat rate. The old movement beat at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and that was true of the 3126 as well as the Piguet 1185. This is now a 4 Hz beat rate, 28,800 vibrations per hour, making the watch potentially more accurate. Now, if you look carefully adjacent to the balance bridge, you can see that the vertical clutch here is actually visible, which is a rarity on vertical clutch mechanisms. They tend to be cloaked underneath winding bridges or subsidiary bridges. Here you can actually see it, which is cool because it's usually not something you can enjoy. Now, the vertical clutch allows you to leave the chronograph running full time with no additional hazard, wear, or tear. And you can see when I fire up the chrono here, there is no stagger or jump with a vertical clutch because there's no play in a vertical clutch. The chronograph just starts. That's not true with a lateral clutch. The movement pivots on 40 joules. It's nicely decorated. It's a combination of manual and mechanical finishing techniques, but it looks its price, which is absolutely critical for me when I'm considering a watch like this. So reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph 50th anniversary.